a video game like we live in a synthetic video game. It's that your brain processes information like a simulator, okay? Because the data that your brain takes in is put together like a simulation. Your life path is projected outward, okay? But the good news is that you get to program the simulation, okay? So you get to program the way your life turns out for you, okay? But not a lot of people do it. Well, I should reframe that. Now, let's reframe that. A lot of people do it, okay? But a lot of people, okay, the percentage of people is small compared to the general population. Okay, I do it. Okay, what am I talking about? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. It's not that hard to do, but why don't more people do it? They don't do it because it takes time, right? They wanna rush to their job. They wanna rush to do this or go do that or whatever, or watch the game, watch the football game, like do all the fun stuff. But they don't realize that if they program the core stuff, okay, your core things, like what you love, the things that you love to do, that kind of stuff, right? The things you want to enjoy in life, the money you want to have, the opportunities you want to have, the love you want to have, those things. If you take your time to program those things, what happens is it just begins to unfold for you. Okay, then everything else is taken care of. And this is why they say, seek first the kingdom, and all else will be added unto you. But you need to seek the kingdom first. Okay, so everything is in here. When you seek in here, and when you plan from in here, when you design your life from in here, everything plays out for you. You don't have to worry about anything else. Okay, but you do need to do the maintenance, okay? So the maintenance, affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Because otherwise, what happens in the subconscious is it goes back to the old programs, okay? And this is what people don't tell you. This is very, very easy. Okay, I was watching a presentation by Rhonda Byrne, who is the author of The Secret. She did that video documentary, The Secret. And I was watching a presentation that she did yesterday. And she was saying everything except the subconscious. Okay, so this is how they make sales, right? They'll make sales by not telling you the core thing or the core substance or how it works, okay? But they'll tell you everything else, okay? And what you're missing is the core. So you have to understand there is just the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. Okay, those three things. Now, superconscious represents God, represents consciousness, represents universe, represents source, like that. Okay, higher power, higher self, that kind of thing. That's superconscious. Okay, if you don't believe in God, then okay, no problem. Just believe in the conscious and superconscious. I mean, subconscious, sorry, conscious, subconscious. If you don't believe in the superconscious, then okay. If you think there's no higher power than you, okay, that's fine. Okay, but everything is energy. Okay, and we are only small units of a greater energy. Okay, we're only small. You only have so much energy in here. Okay, but there's energy out there. Okay, there's energy right out here that interacts with the energy in here. And your energy in here can dictate how this energy operates, or let's say it another way, how this energy out here benefits you. And what people are not telling you is it's simply the subconscious. That's all it is. Okay? And it's easy to program. It's not difficult to program. You program it very, very easily, automatically. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Dallas. Hi, Dallas. Thank you, thank you. Share the live. Please share the live. Thank you, guys. So how do you do this programming thing? Like, is it difficult? Is it, no, you get one of these. Okay. I am so happy and grateful now that I am confident. Okay. I am so happy and grateful now that I have found the love of my life. Okay. Even if you don't have the love of your life, if you write about it, okay, write about it like this, because writing goes directly into the subconscious. Okay. So write. I am so happy and grateful now that I found the love of my life, who is 5'5", 160 pounds, looks great in a bikini, whatever. I'm just saying whatever, right? Okay. Has long blonde hair, has blue eyes, and be descriptive. We did this on the radio as an experiment once when I was on the radio years and years and years ago. And three of us did this experiment and we wrote down the kind of girl that we wanted to meet. And each of us met that girl. We met the girl that we were describing in the affirmation. And we did the experiment on the radio to show people that subconscious work works. Okay, and three of us, three different people did it. And each of us met the girl that we were writing about. Okay, so it's a thing. Okay, but not too many people are going to take the time to do it. Okay, now the people that run the world, okay, you know, you always hear this talk about elites, right? Elites run the world. Okay, those people are counting on the fact that everybody's just going to be a bunch of sheep and everybody's just going to be a herd, right? You know that herd mentality classification, right? People say that. Okay, herd mentality. A herd. Okay, so the herd they follow each other. Okay, they just go where one goes, the others follow. You know, one goes, they all go. Okay, one does something, they all do something. Okay, so there's programs set up. Okay, there's corporations set up. People work for corporations. There's these things called jobs that people go to, 9 to 5, right? Monday to Friday, wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, now there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It is what it is. But you need to see what it is if you want to rise above it. If you want to rise above what is, you need to identify what is and see it for what it really is. It's a program. You are part of a program. But those programs benefit industry. They benefit corporations. They benefit other people's businesses. Now, if you have your own business, then you do things to benefit yourself, to benefit your business. Okay, but either way, there are systems in place. Okay, so if you build your business, there's going to be other people that work for you. So you're going to have a structure. Now they're on your merry-go-round, right? Serving your company instead of another corporation. But you need to see these things for what they are. Because you have this thing called a life. And with this life, you have a life path. And that life path unfolds from within. And it unfolds for you. Okay, life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you. And it's all about perspective. So you need to see these things correctly. When you start to see these things, or you know, some people say, when you start to wake up, right? When you start to wake up and see things for what they really are, and see the control systems for what they really are, and understand that within these control systems, you can have independence. And within these control systems, what am I talking? Control systems? What am I talking about? I'm talking about government. I'm talking about religion. I'm talking about industry. I'm talking about corporations. Okay, right now corporations are buying the majority of private land in America. Okay, one day there will be one corporation, I think. Or maybe two or three. Right now we have three huge ones that own the majority of everything. They're investment companies. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so if you want private property, then you go and buy your private property. If you want more convenience, then you rent the property from the people that own the property. And these people, these corporations, are buying private property to rent it out to you. So Gautama Buddha said, the man who sees life as an illusion escapes suffering. What is he talking about? Well, if you feel you have to own this, if you feel you have to own that, if you feel you have to possess this, or govern that, or control this, or control that, that's where suffering begins. That's where suffering begins. Because now you're subscribing to exterior things, not interior things. There's God made and there's man made. The interior and exterior. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. So the question is, are you operating from within the kingdom, or are you just participating out here in these systems of things? So in the Bible, Jesus Christ said, I will be with you until the end of the world. Okay, but when you translate it in the original Greek, what it says is, I will be with you until the end of these systems of things. What is he talking about? He's talking about the age of Pisces. The end of these systems of things. Every time period, every age, an age is a constellation. An age is a little over 2,000 years. In the last age, it was Jesus Christ that came to teach us. And what did he teach you? He taught you to go inside, go in the kingdom. Why? Because when you're operating out here, on the exterior, with exterior things, with superficial things that were built for your participation, when you're operating out here, you're subject to these things. When you're operating from in here, you're subject to God, your creator, source, Jesus Christ, Allah, those things. However you believe, whatever you believe, I'm not here to tell you or to influence you or anything like that. Okay, however you believe. But when you are relying on exterior things, things outside of you, now you're relying on the world. But you can be in the world and not of the world. Okay, you can participate in the world, but not be of the world. You can participate in the system, but not worship the system, but not believe in the system. You can use the system. You can operate within the system. You don't have to worship the system. You don't have to believe in the system. You drive the car, right? Do you believe in the car? Do you worship the car? I don't do that with my car. I don't even own my car. I lease my car. I don't want the responsibility of owning the car. Knowledge is another thing that brings responsibility. Once you know, once you are aware, you are responsible. And this is what Jesus was trying to tell you. Okay, it's where do you place your faith? Are you placing your faith out here, outside yourself? Are you placing your faith up there, in heaven, somewhere up there, or in the heavens, right? Outer space. Are you putting your faith up there? Where are you placing your faith? If it's anywhere but in here, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because God lives in here. You're not your body, you're not your name. You're that energy in here, that spirit in here. You're a spiritual being having a physical existence. And one day the physical will give out. It will die. But this doesn't die. You are eternal in here. That's the part they don't tell you in church. They make you think, or they make you identify with the body. But there's a separation between the spirit and the body. Okay? Now your brain is like a computer. your mind is like a computer. Your mind is awareness. Your mind observes. The brain is like a computer. So what does it do? It assimilates data. What does it do with that data? It projects it out. So many people don't like their circumstances. They don't like the way their life is going. But they think they have to rely on things out here. So they go to extenuating things out. They go to the doctor out here. They get pills, they get, remedies out here. They go out here to therapy. And they keep going in circles. They keep going on the merry-go-round, right? Because it keeps coming back into the subconscious. Every time you discuss the past, you bring it into the present. Every time you recall the past, you bring it into the present. Every time you discuss the past, you speak it into your reality again. Every time you write about it, if you're journaling about what happened yesterday or the day before or 10 years ago, you're bringing it back into the present day. Dr. Joe Dispenza describes it like this. So you have your problems yesterday, right? And then you finally get to sleep. When you wake up this morning, this is the next day, right? Now you're thinking about those problems. Now you're thinking about those challenges. Now you're thinking about those difficulties. Guess what? You brought yesterday into today. Now, if you don't resolve these things, okay, guess what happens tomorrow? Now you've brought them 3 days ahead. But here's the secret. Most people live like this, day to day to day to day, to year to year to year to year to year to year to die. To death over here. They live like this over and over and over and over and over and over, dead, right there. And they've lived the same life, the same struggles, the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Why is that? Do they see it that way? They don't see it that way. You know how they see it? Oh, this happens to me. I'm unlucky. This just happens to me. Things were going good for a little while, and then boom, it happened again. Why? Because you didn't change your subconscious. Therapy's not going to do that for you. It'll do a little bit for you. But unless you put forth your own effort to change, nothing changes. Why? Because you get pulled back into the old paradigm. Even if you shift paradigms, let's say you construct, some modifications to your paradigm, because you can't change your paradigm 100%, but let's say that you change it, 10 to 15%, that's enough to change a life. That's enough to change the course of a life. 10 to 15%. So let's say you do that. And then let's say you become complacent. Let's say you're happy with the way things are, so you're just going to leave it alone. You're not going to do any more maintenance, no more affirmations, no more meditation, no more visualization, no more vocalization. Okay? Slowly, slowly. Okay? It works slowly like this. Habit by habit. Okay? Slowly like this. And before you know it, you're back here. And you go, how did that happen? Like these things are happening again. The same drama is happening again. It's replaying again. Why? Because you're attracting it. Is it magic? No, it's your subconscious. The law of attraction is your subconscious. The book of life is your subconscious. They're not going to tell you this in church. Why? Well, they want you to keep donating. They want you to keep coming. It's a business. It's a 501c3 business. It's a corporation. It's a non-profit corporation, but it's a corporation. It relies on money. And in order to collect money, they need participants. They need customers. They need clients. I know. It's like when I went to church, I didn't look at it like that, right? I didn't look at it like how I didn't look at the reality. I looked at the fantasy part. Oh, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to be with God. God lives in here. You don't go somewhere to be with God. You go in here to believe, to be with God and to believe in God. You close your eyes to be with God like this, and then you just be with God. Seek and ye shall find has nothing to do with out there. You don't seek in your neighborhood. It's not hide and seek. Okay? You're not looking for something that's hidden. You're seeking from within. When you seek in here. CBS News, good morning. Hey, CBS News. Is this age the program? Age the program, Darlene? I don't understand what you're asking. Is this age the program? I don't. Let me know what you mean, Darlene. Put it up and I'll answer you, don't worry. But the kingdom is in here. Knock and the door shall open, right? What does that mean? That means you go to your neighbor's house, knock on the door when you need something? Does that mean you go knock on doors in the neighborhood? In the city? No, it means you knock on the doors in here. The kingdom is within. Okay, when Jesus Christ said that, he was giving you something profound. He was telling you that you are complete. He was telling you that everything you need, everything you desire comes from in here. It originates in thought. You mentioned the previous age was the age of God. Every age is the age of God. The previous age was the age of Pisces, the two fish, Christianity. Why don't they talk about the subconscious in The Secret? Because they have to sell you products. That's why. That's what I was talking to you about. Yeah, Jesus Christ was the savior of the 2,000-year period of Pisces. Before that, it was Moses in the age of Aries, where they used the ram's horn to signal the tribes. Darling, there you go. You're very welcome. So what I'm saying is, it's not just a secret. It's not just a secret where they don't explain it. It's all these self-help things that they talk to you about. Manifestation, right? It's like it's some magical thing. No. You manifest whether you like it or not. You manifest whether you think so or not. You don't have to believe in manifestation. It's not something to believe in. It's something to deliberately control. You have the power. Okay? The thing about society and these entities in society, whether they're corporations, okay? So religion is part of it because it's a corporation. It's a non-profit corporation, but it's a corporation. But it's part of it. It's just one part of it. Government's another one, okay? Regular corporations are another thing that make you feel small because you have bosses, because you have officers in military is another one, okay? I train executives. I train corporate people. I train CEOs. I train attorneys. I train doctors. I train lawyers, or these people that have large departments and work for huge entities, huge corporate entities. They know what to do. They know their job. Okay? It's the other stuff I help them with, the stuff I'm talking to you about now. Because unless you have a handle on both of these things, you can have one half and be really good at this half and have no clue about this and totally be misled over here, is what I'm saying. Because you're missing the pieces. You know, so I know these people that have degrees, multiple degrees sometimes. Multiple degrees, certifications, all this stuff, and they don't believe in themselves. Why not? Well, they believe in the certifications, so they think if they have the degrees, if they have the certifications, if they have these things that validate them, then they're something. And they get very defensive when you start questioning things within the system. within education, within indoctrination. But that's what it is. Because once you're indoctrinated, you have to believe in that. Why? Because you've invested money, you've invested time, and then when you find out, oh, that's not real validation, the real validation's in here. The real validation is from God. I was born validated. I didn't have to prove myself in a college. Sure, you have to get a degree to work in certain fields. Understandable. But you don't need that as validation, is what I'm saying. When you start doing that, you start worshiping education. You start putting education itself on a pedestal. Not education as in being smart. Education as in the institution. There's nothing wrong with college. Okay. But when you are being indoctrinated, when you go in, with natural talents and natural abilities, and you go in with a bright mind, and you get indoctrinated. Now, when you come out, how are you coming out? What kind of ideologies are you bringing out of college? I'm not here to judge universities, but I'm just saying, either way, you are indoctrinated. Doesn't matter what ideology you come out with. You're going to come out different. You're going to come out believing in the system. Why? Because that's the job of the system. That's their mission. And they will use your intelligence, and they will modify that intelligence, and they will shape it into what they want you to be. It will be influencing in the highest degree. But you've spent time. You've spent tons of money. When you leave school, you're still paying for it. It's called student loans. You're still paying for your student loan. I know doctors that are still paying for their student loans, and they're in their 50s. They're in their 50s. This is a business, people. This is a business. But guess what? AI is here. It's going to change the game. Okay, college is going to become an old school flex. What happens when AI runs everything? Or let's say the majority of everything. Now, you're going to live in a world of abundance. It's not going to cost as much to produce your phone. It's not going to cost as much to produce your house. 3D printers will produce a lot of things. It won't cost so much. Production will go down. Production cost, right? So when there is an abundance of everything, because that's the good part of AI, it's going to produce abundance. A lot of these jobs that are now necessary will not be necessary. Then what? Then you have abundance. It's no longer about ownership, because anybody can own it, because AI will create it. 3D printers will create it. Anybody can own it. So you're going to see a major shift. Many people will not be needed. They will be excused. Now what do? Okay? If you don't get a handle on what's in here, if you don't understand what God gave you in here, if you don't understand that God lives in here, you're going to be lost. You're going to be shaken. You're going to be scared. Rest assured that the kingdom is within. And all you need to do is spend some time in the kingdom. But everybody's out here, right? Distracted out here, going to the movies out here, going to the job out here, killing themselves out here with overtime, okay? Splitting their family apart because they're over here overtime. Kids are over here raising themselves, they're over here overtime. More money, more money, more money. Think about the system. You can flourish within the system, but you got to go in here. It's not about the overtime. It's about overtime in here. It's about putting time in here, because God lives in here. So the secret tells you what you want, happiness, but doesn't tell you the where the subconscious is, yeah, they don't explain it like that, Costas, because they want it to be mystical. Because why should you pay to learn about your own subconscious, right? But if it's this magical process that brings you whatever you want, you see the marketing aspect of that. I've been doing marketing for 40 years. I didn't go to college to learn marketing either. I did it the hard way. Okay, but I know people that have marketing degrees that really haven't produced very much. They get by, they make an income, but they don't make a difference. They make a small difference, little differences like this. Okay, the guy I learned marketing from brought these things called pogs to Hawaii. Changed the whole landscape in a matter of a couple of months. It was phenomenal. But anyway, getting back to the kingdom. The kingdom is in here. Okay, how does the brain work? How do neurons work? You know, one neuron alone doesn't mean much, but when they all fire together, okay, when they fire together, they wire together. What does that mean? They create neural pathways, new ones, brand new ones. But what does that depend on? That depends on your focus. What are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your brain? Your brain doesn't just wait for input, it makes predictions. Okay? When you walk into your kitchen, your brain is already expecting to see the refrigerator, right? Like what's going to be in there, it's always one step ahead of you. If your refrigerator isn't in the kitchen, what does your brain do? It goes WTF. It tries to figure it out. Where's the refrigerator? Okay, it updates the map. So memory and learning. Memory is subconscious. Your subconscious is the culmination of all of your senses. What you see, what you touch, everything, sensory, everything. It all goes in your subconscious as data. So when you ask for an answer, your subconscious is obligated to answer you. Ask your subconscious. But you have to go in the kingdom to do it. Most people don't have time for the kingdom. They think they don't have time for the kingdom. Either that or they're ignorant to the fact that the kingdom has all the answers. You were born with infinite knowledge. Because the subconscious works with the superconscious. And the superconscious is God. Or if you don't believe in God, then only subconscious. But it gives you answers. Because it works with the superconscious. So if you don't believe in God, okay, but the superconscious is still there. It doesn't change. The superconscious still exists, but in your mind, it's just the conscious and subconscious. Every self-help book ever written, Tony Robbins, I don't care who you're reading, Dean Graziosi, I don't care who you're reading, Bob Proctor, I don't care who you're reading, Jack Canfield, all of these authors, they're talking about the subconscious. They're just not saying subconscious. They mention it once in a while. But it's subconscious. So when somebody says, wow, they can manifest really well, all they're saying is their conscious mind has made a decision. They repeat it over and over to go into the subconscious to become a belief. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. Once you believe that thought, the subconscious creates supporting details for it. What does the superconscious do? It works hand in hand with the subconscious and it creates avenues for you. When you make the decision and when you start inputting that idea into the subconscious, that's when neural pathways are established. Okay, your brain starts to fire differently. It starts to wire differently. That's what epigenetics is. Dr. Bruce Lipton is a good guy to go research for epigenetics. He's the father of epigenetics. Epigenetics says that certain genes are activated at certain times. So your genetics can actually be activated in different areas at different times based upon whatever it is you're interested in. A good example was my mom. She started painting in her early 80s, and she paints really nice stuff. She doesn't think so, but we think so. Very, very nice paintings. And I keep telling her, she doesn't have the confidence to market it. I keep telling her, you need to sell these things. Not because she needs money. She doesn't need money. It's not about that. It's about selling it so that it validates her effort. Okay? That's what selling is sometimes. It's so that you realize that what you're doing has worth or has value or is substantial or is viable or is worth it. It's not about accumulating funds. It's about validating it in your subconscious. If you're selling paintings and you're bringing in money for it, even if it's a little, you have to subscribe to the thought, well, at least somebody thought it was good enough to pay for, right? That boosts your self-confidence. That also increases or gives you motivation or increases your motivation to do more. And then when you do more, you also do better. Why? Because the subconscious learns a repetition. So you get better and better and better and better and better. The only thing a human being has to do is to be interested in something. If you're interested in archery, guess what? You're going to go to the range a lot. Guess what happens? The more you fire those arrows, you're going to get better and better. Pretty soon you're going to start hitting the bullseye all the time. And this is why you need to be all into something. It's because of your subconscious. So when you do affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization, these 4 pillars are guaranteed to bring you anything you desire, anything. Now, the timing is up to the superconscious. I can tell you that everything I have now, I was thinking about when I was 12. Everything I've done up until this point in life, I was thinking about when I was 12, and I accomplished everything by my 40s. By my mid-40s, everything was done. And now I'm trying to, come up with new stuff. And everything I come up with, I'm like, do I really want to do this? And I think about it for a little while, and pretty soon the answer is no. I'm happy with what I've done. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy with my students. I'm happy with my clients. I'm happy with my life coaching clients. I'm happy with teaching. I was born to be a teacher. I tried to run from it. I did a podcast on it. It was one of my all-time most listened to podcasts. My podcast is on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify. It's on Deezer. It's on, it's all over the world. But this is how the subconscious works. When you're interested in just doing rather than the money part of it, right? When you focus on the doing of something, when I play guitar, for example, I focus on playing the guitar, not playing the guitar for money. When I teach, I'm not thinking about what I'm getting paid to teach. I'm thinking of the quality of how I can get people to understand what it is that I'm teaching, first of all, and the communication, and how to break it down so that a 3-year-old could understand it. That's what I'm thinking about when I'm teaching. That's what I'm thinking about when I'm doing the live. I'm trying to break it down to its least common denominator, so to speak, right? The least possible, let's say 6th grade education level. Not because there's a bunch of 6th graders watching me. Because if a sixth grader can understand it, anybody can understand it. You know, in one of my businesses, my vocal development school, okay, it's called Voicemaster Vocal Development. You can look it up, it's online. I teach 3-year-olds. And this one grandmother she was amazed. She goes, "You teach 3-year-olds. You're the only one that teaches 3-year-olds." Right? And she goes, "Everybody else said they have to be 6 and over, and you teach 3-year-olds." I'm like, "Well, of course." And she says, "But everybody else, they teaches 6 and above." And I said, "That's because they don't know how to teach. They're not teachers. They're not real teachers. They think they're teachers. If you cannot communicate with a 3-year-old, something is wrong with you." Okay? But the real truth of that is people don't have patience. If you're going to be a real teacher, in other words, communicate ideas effectively, communicate processes effectively. Effectively means the person that you're teaching gets ahead. Effectively means the person that you're teaching benefits from what you're doing, okay? So you have to humble yourself in such a way that you bring everything down to a level that they can understand. The worst kind of teacher is the kind of teacher that comes off with these $10 words and tries to be so up here and show you how smart they are, when they should actually be dumbing everything down to the very minimum so people can understand what's going on. And then they catch on like this. And then they put it together like this. And now you're successful in teaching. So yeah, I teach 3-year-olds. Of course I teach 3-year-olds. And they excel. I have one 3-year-old that's still with me, and she's 7. She's 7 years old. She just made 7 in August. And she's been with me because she keeps getting more confident, better and better and better and sharper, and it accentuates what she's doing in her school. And now her sister, who is 2, sits in with us and is learning at 2. So do I teach 2-year-olds? Yeah. Don't underestimate the human being. Don't ever underestimate a human being. You know, back in the day, people didn't understand, right? So when you were 3 years old or 2 years old, they talk baby talk to you, right? Because they think that's the only thing you can understand. Well, we've evolved as a society. We've evolved as human beings. Now we have the knowledge. They're just absorbing everything. They're not able to communicate as we do, but they can understand. They get it. The kingdom is within. If you're 3, the kingdom is within. You can show a 3-year-old how to connect with the kingdom. You can show a 2-year-old how to connect with the kingdom. I do it all the time. All you have to do is describe it. All you have to do is show them. All you have to do is lead by example. They know exactly what it is. If you break everything down to muscles, air, and energy within the kingdom, okay, energy, velocity, strength, okay, muscles, okay, and thought, and for our purposes with vocalization, air. The rest is easy. So when you come from everything is energy, when you start looking at everything as energy, you're not as intimidated anymore. Nothing is above your head anymore, because you can break it down into those things. I can break everything down into energy. So what's the secret of all of this manifestation thing, right? Well, whatever you do, there's going to be a result to any action. Now, there's two kinds of action. There's thought, okay, and there's physical action. There's the baby steps, as I call them. Why do you take baby steps? Because if you take a big giant step and you have to make a correction, because everybody makes mistakes here, me, guilty, okay, I make mistakes all the time. I make mistakes every week. I fall down at least 2-3 times a month, guarantee, okay, because failure is a part of success. Failure is necessary for success. If you're trying not to fail in your career, if you're trying not to fail as an entrepreneur, if you're trying not to fail in the workplace, if you're trying not to fail in your family, you're doing it wrong. Accept the failure, allow the failure. Because when you allow the failure, that suggests you're allowing yourself enough room. Okay? If you're being like this because you don't want to fail, okay, now you're being restrictive. You're being restrictive with yourself. And how can you ever reach maximum potential? There's no way. Okay? So failure is necessary. Failure suggests, okay, instead of micromanaging myself like this, I'm going to take away the barriers. Okay, now I have more room. And now I'm going to take a chance on something. Now I'm going to allow myself out. And if I fall down, it's okay. I'm just going to get up and continue. And that's what you do. You fall down, you pick yourself up, you continue. Fall down, pick yourself up, continue. But you're going to figure out that that's the fastest way to success. No such thing as no mistakes. When you're too careful with yourself, you restrict yourself. When you're too careful with your job, you restrict your maximum potential, your maximum growth. You want to grow in your job? Take chances. Within reason, but take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. It's okay. Nobody ever faulted somebody for failure. And if they do, they're small people. So don't worry about it. Because if you fail and somebody judges you for failing, then it's on them. It's okay. It shows you what kind of a person they are, not who you are. But you need to be confident in yourself. And in order to be confident in yourself, part of it is the picking up of yourself when you fall down. Then you can be more confident with yourself. Why? Because you'll know that even if you fall down, even if you fail, you can pick yourself up. You can dust yourself off and you can continue. And then you have a newfound faith in yourself. Then you can believe in yourself more. Because it doesn't matter if you fail. Right? See? But as you take the baby steps, take them from in here. Ask in here. Believe in here. Receive in here. And then proceed out here. Seek and ye shall find does not mean go out in the neighborhood and look. You have eyes. Your eyes lead you away from the kingdom. The kingdom is in here. Knock and the door shall open. Right? You knock on the door in here. You proceed in here. You seek in here. What are you seeking for in here? You're seeking for the answer. You know, how should I do this, that, and whatever at my job? What's the answer? Now, you can try to figure out the answer with your left brain, with your logic, okay? But I'm here to tell you that logic only goes so far before you have to consider the right hemisphere of your brain, intuitive thought, okay? The voice of God, intuitive thought, creativity. The right hemisphere. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, not the left. There's a reason for that. Now, this has nothing to do with moral judgment. This has nothing to do with right or wrong. This has to do with it. Do you want the answer or not? Do you want to rely on yourself and the left hemisphere of the brain? And whip a dead horse over and over and over, not to get the answer, and get frustrated and keep trying to get the logical answer, keep trying to work from out here, because you learn logic out here. All the things that you see out here become examples for your logic, for your reasoning. Right? Because you saw this fail, you saw that fail, you saw this guy go down, you saw that company go out of business, you saw this, right? And now you're logically trying to assimilate the answers out of the left hemisphere of your brain. Instead, give it to God. Give it to the right hemisphere. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father for a reason. The Christians say, walk by faith, not by sight. What does that mean? It means lean not unto your own understanding. Where's your own understanding? The left hemisphere of the brain. Logic. Lean not unto your own understanding, but by every word that, right? You know that one, okay? The right hemisphere. Trust in God. Trust in the infinite intelligence that you were born with, okay? Because the conscious, the subconscious, and superconscious, all three reside in here. It all lives in here. It's all within you. It's not out there. The superconscious is God, yes, but that's in here. That's the right hemisphere of your brain, esoterically. So when you look for answers, that's why it says in Matthew, go into your closet. Where's your closet? It's not in your house. It's in here. You go into your closet. Okay? You go into the temple. The temple. You go into the temple, you close your distractors, and you ask for God's blessing. That is where you pray. Okay? There is no holier place to pray out here in the world. Not the church, not the synagogue, not the temple. The temple is here. So you go into your closet to pray. In here. That's where you pray and that's where you meditate. Praying is speaking to God. Meditating is listening to God. You need to do both. If you're not meditating, if you're not being still for 10 minutes a day, you need to incorporate that into your practice. Okay? It has nothing to do with anything other than listening to God, being with God. And when you take that time to be with God, you understand what God is. Because you will feel what God is and you will become one with God. It's 8 o'clock in Hawaii and Jay is saying, see you tomorrow. Thank you, Costas. Thank you, guys. Who else can we thank over here? Let's see, Costas, Darlene. Thank you, Darlene. Thank you. Who else we got here? I'm just scrolling through all this stuff before. Ike Cooper, thank you. Thank you for being here. Dallas, thank you, Dallas. Thank you, guys. Yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We're on seven platforms every morning, broadcasting live. So we'll see you on the live tomorrow morning. Okay, I'm Junior, and we want to say aloha from Hawaii.